So we're here with Dion Clark. This is Anwar Salandi of Anwar's Reflections. So Dion, after experiencing a heart attack and some other health problems, and taking some time away from your activism, how are you feeling overall?
Well, first of all, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you again for this opportunity. I'm feeling pretty good right now. They went in, they cleaned out two of my main arteries and removed the blood clot, so it makes a world of difference. And then I'm taking care of myself. I'm getting the proper rest and just taking one day at a time.
Okay. Okay. And through your tireless efforts, the quality of life of other individuals have been improved a great deal. What gave you the push or the drive to want to be an activist or to want to help improve the quality of life of others?
Well, first of all, I don't consider it as being an activist. I feel as being a concerned citizen,
Hmm.
someone who cares. It's my constitutional right. It's due process to look out for your community, your home, and your neighbor. Like I said before to you, Anwar, it's about being a good neighbor.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we have to get back to being a good neighbor and looking out for one another. That's something we've gotten away from. We don't even know our neighbors. The world that I grew up in, we knew one another. We got along with our neighbors. We communicated with our neighbors. We celebrated holidays, birthdays together with our neighbors. Sometimes your neighbors as close as your family because they're there right there in the community with you.
Right.
And that helped inspire me. And then the most important part of it, it was my upbringing. My parents was people who always stressed being clean and cleaning up, taking pride in your environment. So that a lot of it came from my parents too.
Okay. Okay. And in light of being, a lifelong resident of Trenton, what do you think of the current state of activism or, concerned citizens in this community today?
Well, I don't think much of it because a lot of them are Johnny come latelys and
Mm.
they really haven't contributed anything.
Mm.
Not saying it because I've worked at it and fortunate enough got things done, but I think it's a process, just like anything else in life. It takes time, and
Mm.
just get your name in the newspaper or some group recognize you with a plaque don't make you someone of that status or purpose. You have to work at that.
Mm.
Like I got the city to tear down many houses in the Wilbur section.
Right.
I got the city to rewrite the laws on landlords. I got Amtrak to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in their property to clean up. So I got a laundry list of accomplishments as a concerned citizen and taxpayers to get those in positions to do things to do them.
Right. Right. And and you see today's, citizens not having that same desire. They just want to be in the paper or be recognized with a plaque. Or would you mind?
Well, let the records speak for themselves. What have they accomplished? Tell me some of the things that these other activists in this city has done.
Mm.
I've heard some say, well, I did this, I might not get the ink or the write up in the newspaper, but I've done it. What have you done?
Mm. Would you mind, stating any names as the individuals that?
No, because they all know who they are, and the ones who profess to be activists, if you was to ask them, what have you done? It speaks for itself. It's not about what I say or think, because I'm responsible for me. I
Right.
can back up my talk, but can they back up theirs?
Mm. Mm.
Not bragging or being arrogant or sarcastic, but when it comes to community work and community environment and involvement in the city of Trenton, I stand alone. And it's undisputable. Some people don't like me for it. Some people don't care about it, but I stand alone. I'm very proud of that. That I care too much about my community to stand up and fight for it. Lack of backing, lack of finances, lack of organization. I was still, as an individual, concerned citizen to get things done because I stayed on top of things and I worked at it. It was a process, as I said earlier. It
Right.
took time, but I got it done.
Right.
And I'm very proud of that.
Indeed, indeed, and I recognize the research that you've been, recognized by, individuals like State Senator Shirley Turner and others, Rush Holt. So that's definitely to be applauded, and I myself wanted to recognize you for being, a community servant. We recognized you a few weeks ago, so we thank you for your service. Now, in light of the last question, in terms of leadership in the community or activism in the community now, you said that basically you don't really see a lot of leaders that are really about something or doing something, just want to get the ink and the recognition. And
Well, what are they doing?
right, right, and the follow up to that is to say, what do you, what direction do you see the city of Trenton going in the
It's
next
going to
5 or
get
10 years?
well. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Because first of all, we don't have the finance. It takes money to make the process work. We financial strapped. We don't have the income. We don't have the means of bringing in revenue into the city of Trenton to make it go forward.
Hmm.
And it's the same old, same old. They all too busy concerned about Mayor Mack. Let the process deal with Mayor Mack. I told them all back then they didn't like that. Leave the mayor's salary alone.
Right.
You're going to get in trouble because if you do cut a salary, it's labor laws and other union business that it's going to cost the city much more than what they're taking from Mayor Mack. So let the FBI, the court system deal with Mayor Mack. Because a lot of us are the ones who voted Mayor Mack into office. So let due process take care of Mayor Mack and leave it alone. And you see in the end, they all had to give it up. Yeah, well, there's too much other things going on, crime, blight, this and that. Well, I've been saying it all along.
Right, right, right. So you think the energy or the efforts put into trying to reduce Mayor Mack's salary could be put elsewhere?
Right, because that's what the newspaper want to hear. So this is my chance to get in the newspaper, so I'm going to keep beating that drum, beating it. But it didn't get me anywhere.
Right, right. So Dion, and speaking of your work in the community, what remains undone in terms of quality of life issues that you see now in the city of Trenton that you would like to see taken care of or something done about them?
Well, Anwar, it's an everyday process. The same things that I fought for, we must continue to fight for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A clean community,
Right.
a drug-free community,
Right.
a productive community, a good school environment for our children. And those are things that will always go on and be called into question. And I've seen some of the stuff since I'm not there to stay on top of it. People have even forgotten about with the landlords, the trash, the illegal dumping. You don't even hear people talk about those issues anymore.
Right. Right.
Holding our elected officials accountable. You don't even hear that. It's like everybody said, well, I'm getting ready to run for political office. It's more about what it can do for individuals, about what it can do for the community.
So what do you think is going to turn things around? I mean, you say, like I said, there's a lack of funding, a lack of different leadership. What do you think is going to help turn this city around, this community around?
Well, it's all part of God's plan, if you understand what I'm talking about. And God gives us all a vision, gives us wisdom, gives us understanding. And we have to take that and grasp it and understand it and make it work, if you understand what I mean. It's something that you just can't say in words. It's something that you got to live.
Mm.
You have to feel it. Just like music. It's something that the normal ear can't hear. It's a certain ear that can hear. And you have to be able to relate and understand where I'm coming from. It's not meant for everybody.
Right. Like in my case, I have a vision of helping people, speak up for themselves and allowing them to tell their stories to make things better.
Right.
Would that mean like, turning my vision into like I have to live it out?
Absolutely, because it starts with self. And when people see you
Right.
progressing and moving and not only talking it, but living it,
Right.
that's something to gravitate towards.
Mm-hmm.
And in gravitating towards, you get some sense of understanding.
Right.
And that's what I want to be like Anwar. Like I told you before, Dion Clark took it to this level.
Mm-hmm.
But young men like Anwar and Darrell Brooks and Freedom Green, they can take it to the next step. And,
Right.
that's what life is all about. It's like running a marathon race. I'm going to pass the
Baton.
torch to you,
Right,
the
right.
baton to you.
Right,
And
right.
you take it and run on to the next level with it.
Yeah.
Everyone has their part to do. That's why I can understand my situation. I can take a step back and pass the baton on to you or Freedom Green.
And doing your work in the community, since having a disability, did that ever hold you back, or, in terms of being committed to what the causes that you fight for?
No, because it inspired me. Because it gave me something to do. It gave me a goal. It gave me something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
It made me want to get up and go out and try in spite of my disability. I could have just stayed in the house and did nothing because of my disability. But I wanted to get up. I want to try. I want to be productive. I have something to offer society, and whatever little part that I can play in the big part, I want to be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Enough little specks like me adds up and make a big part of it. And that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
See, and understanding and growth, you come to realize that. Many people say, oh, Walnut Avenue and this and that. But it does play a part in the big part.
Right.
It's a little part, but it plays a big part in the whole picture.
Right, right.
So by me doing my little part in that part, it'll grow. Because
Right.
it's not only Walnut Avenue, but it's other Walnut Avenues that needs help. You have your Stuyvesants, your Martin Luther Kings, your Hermitages, your West States, your Bellevue Avenues. They all have their problems and issues and concerns. So if I can do my part on Walnut Avenue, people take notice of that and say, well, if he can do it on Walnut Avenue,
Right.
I can do it on my block.
Right, right.
And that's the real blessing. That's the real gift.
So it sounds like what you're saying starts with self.
Absolutely. Everything starts with self. The seed of life.
Mm.
And planted in the womb of your mother. It starts with that.
Your house, then your
Right.
street, your community,
Right.
your city,
Absolutely.
on and on. Right.
Good neighbors make good neighborhoods.
Right.
Good neighborhood makes great cities.
And what do you think that's the reason why we're having so many problems today, that people don't start with the self in
Right.
terms of their own homes or their families?
Right. Start with your home, your house where you live first.
Mm.
Keep around that clean. Then work on your street. Then work on your neighborhood. And then work on your city. It can be a cancer, but it can also be something that bloom like a rose.
Right, right. I know what you're saying. Right.
Or everything that seems bad ain't bad. It's all in growth and understanding.
And in terms of starting with the self, what do you think holds people back from understanding the self? Is it the mindset? Is it the environment that they live in? Or?
A little bit of all the above.
Yeah.
Finances, lack of education, lack of understanding, lack of willpower.
Mm.
All I have is a high school graduate
Diploma.
diploma,
Mm-hmm.
born and raised on Walnut Avenue,
Mm-hmm.
just with some moral and values and principles. But I have the determination and willpower. The basics in life I want. I deserve better than just anything, and I'll strive for it.
Mm. So Dion, what role do you see yourself playing now? After so many years being a concerned citizen, and with your health issues and problems, what role do you see yourself playing in helping making the community a better place?
And my understanding and short sight of it, or like a cheerleader and someone to encourage and inspire those who wants to do the right thing. But only God really knows what he has in store for me. But in short sight of my understanding of what this is all about is showing those who want to do the right thing to encourage and inspire them. And that's what my vision and understanding of it right now.
Okay. Okay. Do you see yourself, getting involved in any other groups or organizations if they reached out to you, or would it like really depend on what they're about, or?
It's according to what the group is about,
Yeah.
what's their goals, what's their plan,
Right.
and what their intent is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's being self-centered, or it's about the work of the community.
Okay.
It's just like a great singer in a group. I'm out front of the group, but the greatness and the realness of it comes when I step back with the rest and we harmonize together. When we can hear one another through their thing, it's so much better. And that goes to tell me, and my understanding is that working together brings greater results. It's nice to be out front as the lead,
Right. Right.
because the spotlight is on me.
Mm.
But those in the background is playing just as important part as I am in front, because they're harmonizing and they're doing their part to bring it all together. And that's a good way of explaining what I'm all about and wanted to do.
So you're not necessarily a guy that wants to be in the spotlight. You just want to work with others, perhaps if you can, to make things
Yeah,
better.
because you get your greatest accomplishments and goals is working as a group. And if you are sincere and committed and dedicated, whether you in a group or not, people will see your accomplishments. The group will recognize that. And it was never about me. It was about community. And you have very few of us that really truly believe that. See, I believe in the Wilbur Section because that's my birthright. And if anybody who knows me,
Mm-hmm.
if you go back to the beginning of all this community stuff with Dion Clark, he always talked about the Wilbur Section first. It was never about Dion Clark. It was always about the Wilbur Section and all the good people and the good things that came from the Wilbur Section. We had our movie theaters. We had a supermarket.
Mm.
We had clothing stores. We had restaurants of quality. We had a lot of good people who worked and took care of their families. Had clean homes, good people. And those were the things that I always preached about and talked about first.
Right.
Dion Clark came later.
Right. Right.
But so much emphasis came on Dion Clark because I was the only one talking that talk.
Mm. Mm.
I used to go to city council and I'd be always the one standing up and talking about the illegal dumpers, the slum landlords, the gangbangers. It was always Dion. So,
Yeah. And does it hurt you to see the Wilbur Section get a bad name now? For the problems it has, or since you've seen it at
no,
in better
because
times?
No, because I know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth will set you free. See, I know things that the system and them don't know. Because I just mentioned you about the people. Because somebody might got strung out on drugs. I know the real them. People go through things in lives. Some of us can handle them, some of us can't. Because you get strung out on drugs or become an alcoholic or lose your job, don't make you a bad person. It just means that you're going through certain situations in life. Some of us able to deal with them and bounce back, and some of us don't. But that don't make you a bad person. And it's a misunderstanding of that a lot of times. Because he's on drugs, oh, he's terrible, he's no good. But I knew him when he wasn't on drugs.
Right.
I know his parents, I knew his grandparents. We went to school, we went to church together. We used to go to summer camp together. We used to play on the basketball court together. They wasn't always like that.
Right. Knowing the history.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Instead of just judging people or.
Right, playing judge.
Right.
And that gets a lot of us in trouble because we all do it in one sense or another.
Right.
But when we talk about Walnut Avenue,
Mm.
I know Walnut Avenue. I was born and raised there. I know the history. I know the people.
Right.
I love Walnut Avenue. For what it's worth, I love Walnut Avenue.
Mm.
It means a lot to me. It might not mean nothing to nobody else, but it means a lot to me because there's a lot I know about Walnut Avenue that many people don't know about
Right.
Walnut Avenue.
Right. So to those outsiders that look in and say, well, Walnut Avenue, I don't want to go down there late at night. I don't want to get robbed, or I don't want to blah blah blah. You say to them, I love
Stay
it.
off of Walnut Avenue, because I don't go in your neighborhood late at night.
Right.
I don't care where you go. If I'm somewhere late at night, I'm most likely doing something I have no business doing.
Anyway, right, right, right.
It's just common sense. Well, I
Yeah.
got to wait till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to come down your street. Unless I'm up to something, I ain't got no business.
Right. And Dion, last two questions. Um, in being a concerned citizen, what challenges did you face, and how did you overcome them? And then lastly, what would you tell somebody coming after you? What advice would you give to them, if any, on being a concerned citizen?
First of all, it was all God's grace and mercy. First of all, it was my determination, it was my upbringing, and my commitment to community. Secondly, the same thing to those individuals who wants to take the baton and run with it. It's going to take God's grace and mercy to see you through it, but you're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to endure. You're going to have to overcome. Everybody's not going to like what you want to do, but in your heart, you'll know that it's right, and that's all that matters.
Indeed. Thank you, Dion.
Thank you, sir.